Hey everyone, and welcome back to Key Safety Talks. Today we're going to be talking about something super important in pretty much every workplace out there.
Yeah.
It's personal protective equipment,
Yeah.
or PPE as it's more commonly known.
Yeah, we think about hard hats and gloves,
Right.
but it's a whole lot more than that.
It really is.
And it's really about looking at the hazards in your environment and using the right equipment to protect yourself from those hazards.
It's not just about ticking a box.
No.
It's about
Yeah.
going home safe every single day.
Absolutely.
And looking at all of the sources that we've got today, it's really interesting how it comes back to that job hazard analysis.
Yes.
The
A
JHA.
job hazard analysis is
Yeah.
absolutely important.
Yeah,
Get right.
like a safety roadmap for
Yeah.
every task.
Yeah, you're looking at it step by step and you're saying,
Yeah.
okay, what could go wrong here?
What could,
Could something fall?
Yeah.
Could I get splashed with a chemical?
yeah.
Is there anything that could cause a strain or an injury over time?
Yeah, it's like being a detective.
Yeah.
But for safety,
It is.
you're looking for those clues
Yeah.
about potential dangers
Yeah.
before they become a problem.
And there's so many different types of hazards.
Oh, there are so many.
It's not just about
Yeah.
physical things falling on you.
Yeah.
There's chemical hazards, biological hazards,
Yeah.
ergonomic hazards from repetitive movements or awkward postures.
Awkward postures.
Absolutely.
You know, when I was reading through all this, I was thinking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
a really catastrophic event. And it was a lack of proper PPE that led to
Okay.
the Chernobyl disaster
Oh, wow.
in 1986.
Yes.
That was just devastating.
A lack of TPE and the understanding of the hazard
Yeah.
was a huge contributing factor to that.
And the consequences were just tragic.
Absolutely.
So once we've identified those hazards through our JHA,
Yes.
it's time to figure out what PPE
Yes.
we need. And there's a whole world
Oh, my goodness.
of protective gear out there.
It's fantastic how far PPE has come.
It is, isn't it?
And it's still evolving. There are so many options.
Yeah.
From highly specialized respirators to gloves that can withstand incredibly high temperatures. It's unbelievable what they've come up with.
When I was reading through the material, I found out that hard hats actually have an expiration date.
They do. It's true.
Did you know that?
Most hard hats need to be replaced every 5 years.
Really?
Or so, because the materials can degrade over time,
Wow.
especially with exposure to sunlight and the elements.
Okay.
They might look fine,
Right.
but they might not offer the same level of protection
Well, that's
after
on.
years of use.
That's a really good reminder that even something as simple as a hard hat needs to be
Yes,
chosen
absolutely.
and maintained really carefully.
Very careful.
So let's break down some of the main types of PPE
Okay.
and what they're designed to protect us from.
Let's do that. I'm excited.
Let's start with head protection.
Yeah.
The classic hard hat.
The class.
It seems basic, but there's actually a lot to consider when choosing a hard hat.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than you think.
There is.
You've got different classes of hard hats,
Oh, right.
depending on the type of work you're doing.
Okay.
For example, a Class E hard hat is designed for electrical work,
Right.
whereas a Class G is more for general impact protection.
Oh, okay.
Choosing the wrong class for the job could have serious consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, then we've got eye and face protection,
Of course.
which are essential in so many workplaces.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if it's like debris, chemical splashes, harmful radiation.
Yeah.
Your eyes and face are vulnerable
Very vulnerable.
to a whole range of hazards.
The whole range.
And you can't just wear your regular glasses.
no,
You need your
you need,
proper safety glasses, goggles,
yeah,
even a face shield, depending on what you're doing.
depending on the situation. Absolutely.
And again, just like hard hats, there are different types of eye and face protection designed for very specific hazards.
Yeah, for sure.
For example, did you know that welding requires special lenses
Yes.
with a specific shade number
Absolutely.
to protect your eyes from that intense light?
The intense light and the radiation that comes off of it.
I didn't realize it was that specific.
Oh, yeah.
It just shows how important it is to do your research.
Absolutely.
Choose the right PPE for each task.
Every single task has to have a specific
Yeah.
assessment for it.
And how can we forget about hearing protection,
Of course.
especially in noisy environments?
Yeah, prolonged exposure to loud noises can lead to permanent hearing loss.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a very gradual thing.
Right.
So people might not even realize the damage is being done until it's too late.
It's too late.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the best ways to protect your hearing?
Whoa.
Those foam earplugs,
Yeah.
as good as those big earmuffs that go over your ears?
Well, both earplugs and earmuffs can be effective.
Okay.
However, earmuffs generally provide a more consistent seal around the ear.
Okay.
But the important thing is to make sure that you're choosing hearing protection that's offering the right level of noise reduction
Right.
for that environment.
For that specific environment.
For that specific environment, absolutely.
I'm guessing OSHA has some regulations
They do.
about noise levels in the workplace.
OSHA sets limits on the amount of noise that workers can be exposed to over an 8-hour workday.
Right.
If the noise levels exceed those limits, employers are required to provide hearing protection
Okay.
and implement other noise control measures.
So that's really good
It is.
that those regulations are in place
Yeah,
to protect workers.
absolutely. It's there to help.
And now let's talk about something that's become a lot more familiar.
Okay.
In recent years,
All right.
respiratory protection.
Yes.
Respirators and masks have obviously been in the spotlight recently
Yeah.
with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely.
But they're crucial for protecting workers from a whole range of airborne hazards.
Dust fumes, vapors. Yeah.
All sorts of things.
Viruses, bacteria.
You name it.
There are so many different types of respirators out there.
There are.
How do we even begin to choose?
So you've got air purifying respirators, which filter out the contaminants from the air you breathe.
Okay.
And then you have atmosphere supplying respirators, which actually provide clean, breathable air from an external source.
Right.
So it depends on what the hazard is and what you're trying to protect yourself from as to which type of respirator you would use.
Yeah, and it's really important, I think, to get a proper fit test
Oh, absolutely.
to make sure that respirator seals tightly against your face.
Otherwise, it's not going to be effective in protecting you.
And, of course, we can't forget about our hands.
Of course.
They're our primary tools,
Absolutely.
and they're vulnerable to so many hazards.
They are.
Cuts, burns, abrasions,
Everything.
chemical exposure, you name it.
So work gloves are definitely a must-have.
In most workplaces, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's such a variety available now.
There is.
It's amazing you've got cut-resistant gloves, chemical-resistant gloves,
Oh, yeah.
heat-resistant gloves.
It's incredible how specialized.
Yeah.
It's
Things have sort
amazing
of come.
how specialized they've become.
I've seen those charts that help you choose the right type of glove
Oh, yeah.
based on the chemicals you're
Yeah.
working with.
The chemical charts,
It's very impressive.
they're essential.
Yeah.
If you're working with chemicals, those charts are essential. Using the wrong type of glove
Yeah,
could expose you to some really serious risks.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So now let's move on to protecting the rest of our body.
Okay.
What about body protection?
Well, body protection can range from
Huh.
simple things like lab coats and coveralls
Mhm.
to full body suits for those more hazardous environments.
Right.
It's all about shielding your skin and your clothing from spills and splashes,
Right.
extreme temperatures,
Yep.
or even just enhancing your visibility
Right.
if you're working in a low light conditions.
What about those high visibility vests? Yes.
You see construction workers wearing.
Absolutely.
Are those considered body protection?
They are. High visibility clothing is crucial for making workers more visible
Right.
to others, especially in low light conditions or around moving vehicles.
Right.
It's a simple but very effective way to reduce the risk of accidents.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of visibility,
Yes.
we can't forget about
Yeah.
foot and leg protection.
Yes, foot and leg protection, safety shoes and boots are essential for protecting your feet from falling objects. Punctures, crushing hazards,
Yeah.
slips and falls.
Don't forget about those steel toe caps.
The steel toe caps.
They're a lifesaver.
The steel toe caps and the other safety features in those boots have to meet certain standards
Oh, I bet.
for impact and compression resistance.
Right.
You can't just wear any old pair of boots on a construction site.
Yeah, that's a good reminder
Yeah,
that all PPE needs to meet certain safety standards.
all PPE has to meet a standard.
And speaking of standards, we need to talk about fall protection.
Fall protection is critical for anybody working at heights.
Absolutely.
Whether it's on a roof, a scaffold, or even just a ladder.
And harnesses are the key piece of equipment here.
Harnesses are essential. They're designed to secure workers and prevent falls from heights.
Right.
And like other types of PPE, there are different classes of harnesses
Right.
for different types of work.
So you've got harnesses for fall arrest,
Yes.
controlled descent,
Yeah.
work positioning.
Work positioning.
Yep. It's important to know which one
Yeah, you got to know which one is right for the job.
is right for the job.
And regular inspection of harnesses is also really important.
Oh, for sure.
Any signs of wear and tear of that harness needs to be retired.
Yeah.
You don't want to risk your life on a damaged harness.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here from head to toe
A
protection.
lot of ground.
But choosing the right PPE is only half the battle.
It's only half the battle.
We need to make sure
Yeah.
we're using it correctly
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
effectively.
Let's dive into that now, shall we?
Let's do that.
You know, something that really stood out to me going through all this material
Yeah.
is just how important communication and training are
Yeah.
when it comes to PPE.
Absolutely.
It's not enough to just hand somebody a piece of equipment and say,
Right.
here, wear this.
Yeah.
You have to explain why it's necessary, how to use it correctly,
Yeah.
and what its limitations are.
And that training needs to be ongoing. It's not a
Absolutely.
one and done deal.
It's not.
Yeah.
Because work environments change.
Right.
New equipment comes out.
Yeah.
People forget things
Yeah, they do.
over time.
And looking through these sources, it really emphasizes that employees need to be trained.
Yeah.
Not only on how to initially use PPE,
Yes.
but how to inspect it,
Yes.
maintain it,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
dispose of it properly.
Absolutely.
It's about empowering people to take ownership
Yes.
of their own safety.
It is. And you know, and what about the communication on the job site? Workers need to feel comfortable speaking up if they have questions.
Absolutely.
Or concerns about PPE.
Like if a piece of equipment isn't fitting right, or if they see something,
Yeah.
that could be a safety hazard.
Absolutely. Creating a culture of safety where everybody feels comfortable. Raising those concerns is so important.
Yeah, it's about looking out for each other because we're all in this together.
We are.
You know, it's interesting to think about the psychology
Oh, yeah.
at play here.
The psychological factors are huge.
Yeah, if workers don't feel like their safety
Yeah.
is valued
Yeah.
by their employer,
Yeah.
they're less likely to wear PPE
Absolutely.
consistently or report potential issues.
They are.
So it's about trust and feeling like you're part of a team that cares about
Absolutely.
their well-being.
We need to move beyond just a hard hat mentality
Yeah.
and realize that PPE is a symbol of our commitment
Yes.
to protecting ourselves and each other.
I like that. Sometimes it helps to see the real-world impact
Oh, for sure.
of PPE.
Yeah.
To really understand how important it is.
Absolutely.
Do you have any
There's
examples
definitely.
that come to mind?
One of the most striking examples is the use of fall protection harnesses in the construction industry.
Yeah, those are essential.
Essential for anybody working at heights.
Absolutely.
And the statistics speak for themselves. Fall protection has dramatically reduced the number of fatalities
Wow.
and serious injuries in construction.
That's amazing.
Harnesses, when used correctly, provide that critical lifeline
Right.
that prevents workers from falling to their deaths.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the harness itself.
It's about the training, the inspection protocols,
It is.
the entire culture
The whole culture of safety
that surrounds.
that surrounds it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted approach that's having a real impact
It is.
on people's lives.
Yeah.
Another example that I think is really powerful
Yeah.
is the use of respiratory protection
Yes.
in healthcare settings.
That's become very apparent in recent years with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, those N95 respirators played such a vital role
Oh, for sure.
in protecting healthcare workers on the front lines.
Absolutely. When properly fitted and worn, they provide that crucial barrier
Right.
against airborne viruses and bacteria.
And it's not just about COVID-19.
No, it's not.
Respiratory protection is essential for protecting healthcare workers
Absolutely.
from a range of infectious diseases.
Tuberculosis, influenza, other airborne illnesses all pose serious risks
Right.
to healthcare workers.
Yeah, it really highlights that ongoing importance of infection control
Yeah.
measures in healthcare.
And the critical role that PPE plays in that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
These examples really drive home the message that PPE, when chosen correctly
Yeah.
and used responsibly,
Yes.
can truly be a lifesaver.
They are lifesavers.
It's not just about following rules.
No,
It's about understanding the hazards,
it is.
assessing the risks,
Yeah.
and taking the necessary steps to protect yourself and your colleagues.
And speaking of the future, I'm really excited about
That
the
was-
innovations we're
Right.
seeing in the world of PPE.
It feels like we're on the cusp.
It's unbelievable how technology is transforming the field,
Yeah,
and we're seeing some incredible advancements
I know.
that are making PPE more effective, more
Yeah.
comfortable,
Absolutely.
and even stylish.
Yeah, it's amazing to think how far we've come from those basic hard hats
I know it is.
and leather gloves of the past.
It is.
One area where we're seeing a lot of innovation is in material science.
Oh, for sure.
Like we're now seeing PPE made from lighter
Yes.
stronger, more durable materials,
Absolutely.
which makes it more comfortable to wear for those longer periods.
It
I
does.
was reading that they're making hard hats from advanced composites now
Yes.
that are lighter than traditional hard hats,
Yes.
but they offer even greater protection against impact.
They do.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And there are gloves made from cut-resistant fibers
Right.
that are so thin and flexible. You almost forget you're wearing them.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What about the integration of technology into PPE?
Oh, that's a game changer.
I feel like that's a game changer.
It is. We're now seeing PPE with built-in sensors
Right.
that can monitor things like heart rate, body temperature,
Wow.
and even air quality.
Really?
This data can be used to alert workers to potential health risks or hazardous conditions in real time.
So you could have a hard hat that detects a fall and automatically sends an alert to emergency services.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Or a respirator that can warn the wearer if they're entering an area with dangerous levels of airborne contaminants.
Oh, that's like having a personal safety guardian watching over you.
It is. It's like having a guardian angel.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It seems like the possibilities are endless.
Oh, they are.
What about augmented reality and virtual reality?
Oh, yes.
How are they being used to enhance
So they're being used
PPE training?
to enhance PPE training and even provide real-time guidance to workers in hazardous environments.
So instead of just reading a manual or watching a video,
Yeah.
you could actually experience a simulated hazardous situation
Absolutely.
and learn how to respond safely.
Yeah, and imagine being able to see potential hazards highlighted in your field of vision
Wow.
through your safety glasses.
Okay.
Or getting step-by-step instructions on how to perform a complex task safely through a heads-up display in your helmet.
It's like something out of a science fiction movie.
I know, it's fantastic.
But it's happening now.
It's happening now, and it's all about using technology
Right.
to make PPE more effective, more intuitive, and more integrated into the way we work.
It's really inspiring to think about the future of PPE and how it will continue to
It is.
evolve to protect workers and
Yes.
save lives.
Absolutely, it is. And it's a reminder that safety is a continuous journey.
Yes,
It's not a destination.
it's not a destination.
We need to stay informed and embrace innovation and never stop striving to create a safer world for everybody.
I couldn't agree more. You know, we've been focusing a lot on the technical side of things,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to remember that there's a human element
Oh, absolutely.
to PPE as well.
There is a human element to PPE. At the end of the day, it's about protecting people.
Yeah.
It's about people.
And that means understanding the human factors
Yes.
that influence how people use and perceive PPE.
We need to consider things like comfort,
Yeah.
perception of risk training, supervision,
All right.
workplace culture, all of that.
If PPE is uncomfortable or if people don't understand why it's important,
Yeah,
they're less likely to wear it consistently.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And if workers are afraid to speak up about safety concerns, those potential hazards might go unreported.
Absolutely.
So it's about creating an environment where people feel valued and empowered to prioritize their own safety and
Yeah.
the safety of others.
I think that's a great point to transition into our next topic,
Okay.
which is the human factor in
Yeah.
PPE.
The human factor, let's do it. This is a really important area to explore.
So we've talked about the technology, the regulations, the future of PPE. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But I think it's time we zoom in on something we've touched on a few times.
All right.
The human element.
Yes. At the end of the day, PPE is about protecting people, real people.
Real people.
And people are complicated.
Yeah.
We can't just assume everyone will use PPE perfectly all the time.
No.
We have to understand why somebody might not wear it
Right.
correctly or at all.
At all.
One of the sources I read put it really well. Sometimes PPE is seen as a barrier to getting the job done.
You mean like literally a barrier?
Literally like bulky gloves making it hard to use tools,
Right.
but also a barrier in people's minds.
Okay.
If they think the PPE is uncomfortable,
Yeah.
slows them down,
Right.
or isn't really necessary, they're less likely to use it consistently.
Yeah, it's like we can have the most high-tech helmet in the world,
Yes.
but if it's so heavy and hot that people keep taking it off, it's not doing much good.
It's not serving its purpose.
And there's also the perception of risk.
Yes.
Like someone thinking, I've done this 1,000 times without a problem.
1,000 times.
I don't need all this gear this time.
This time I'll be fine.
Yeah. And that's where training
Yes.
and workplace culture come in.
Absolutely.
If there's a strong emphasis on safety and people feel comfortable
Yeah.
speaking up,
Yes.
about concerns.
They're more likely to take PPE seriously.
It's that sense of shared responsibility
It is.
we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
where everyone's looking out for themselves
Yeah,
and their teammates.
absolutely. And I think leadership plays a big role here.
Oh, totally.
When managers and supervisors prioritize safety
Yeah.
and wear their own PPE consistently, it sets a powerful example.
It's like saying we're all in this together,
Exactly.
and your safety is just as important as mine.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the sources also mentioned an interesting psychological effect
Yeah.
of PPE.
Okay, what's that?
It suggested that PPE can sometimes create a false sense of security.
Oh, interesting.
Wouldn't wearing protective gear make you more aware
You would think so.
of the danger?
It would, ideally, but
Yeah,
sometimes people think I'm wearing all this stuff, I must be invincible now.
right. And they might take more risks
And they take more risks
because they would without the PPE.
than they would without it.
It's like how people feel safer texting while driving
Yes.
if their car has lots of airbags.
Exactly. It doesn't eliminate the danger.
Right.
Just the consequences might be less severe.
Exactly.
So it's crucial to reinforce that message,
Yeah.
that PPE is just one layer of protection.
It doesn't make you invincible,
It doesn't.
and it doesn't replace
No.
safe work practices.
It all works together.
Yeah.
Safe work practices and PPE.
So it's about being aware of the hazards,
Yes.
even when you are wearing PPE,
Be aware.
and not letting your guard down.
Don't let your guard down.
Speaking of being aware, I think it's worth circling back to the future of PPE
Okay.
and how that might affect the human element.
Okay.
We talked about all that cool new tech coming out,
Yes.
sensors, augmented reality, personalized gear.
Yes.
How do you think that'll change?
Well, on the one hand,
Yeah.
I think these advancements could make PPE more appealing
Right.
and easier to use.
Like a helmet that's comfortable and lightweight,
Yeah.
but also gives you real-time feedback
Yes.
on air quality or potential hazards.
Absolutely. And that could make people more willing to wear it consistently.
Yeah. But there's also the potential for information overload.
Oh, there is. That's right. If your PPE is constantly beeping and flashing warnings at you,
Yeah.
it could become distracting or even anxiety-inducing.
Absolutely.
So as PPE gets more sophisticated, we need to be really mindful
Yeah.
of the user experience.
Yeah, it's not just about cramming in as much tech as possible.
But
It's about making sure the technology is actually helpful.
helpful, and it's not creating new problems.
And we need to make sure that people are properly trained
Absolutely.
on how to use these new technologies.
We can have all the technology in the world, but if people aren't trained properly on
Yeah,
how to use it,
it's useless.
it's a waste of time.
It all comes back to training, doesn't it?
It does. No matter how advanced the technology becomes, the human factor will always be crucial when it comes to PPE effectiveness.
Well said. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of personal protective equipment. What a journey it's been.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
It has.
From the history and types of PPE to the science behind it, the regulations, the human element, and the exciting future of this field, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, and I hope our listeners have gained a deeper understanding
Yeah.
of the importance of PPE
Mm-hmm.
and the role it plays in keeping people safe in the workplace.
Absolutely. Remember, PPE is more than just a set of rules and regulations. It's about protecting ourselves, protecting our colleagues, and creating a work environment where everybody can go home safely at the end of the day.
We've learned that it's not just about the equipment itself, but also about understanding the hazards,
Yes.
choosing the right PPE for the job, using it correctly, and maintaining it properly.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget the importance of ongoing training, clear communication, and a strong culture of safety in the workplace.
All of these things work together to create a safer environment for everyone.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to stay informed, stay vigilant, and never underestimate the power of PPE to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And before we sign off, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What were your biggest takeaways from today's episode?
Yeah.
What questions do you still have about PPE?
Yeah.
Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue this important conversation.
And be sure to subscribe to Key Safety Talks
Yeah.
for more insights and discussions on workplace safety.
Until next time, stay safe out there.